King Productions presents the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Cornholio. Hey everybody, this is Sergeant Cornholio, and you have tuned in for another episode of the BearDown Corner. We got this week some news and notes about signings, some possible stuff on the move, and a little bit of stories as well at the very end. So sit down, grab your popcorn, let's get into it, breaking it down here. All right, so Mike Tomlin, optimistic. TJ Watt is going to be getting a contract extension here soon, hopefully. The two sides have been working the last little bit. What can I say? You can't move forward with a Pittsburgh defense without TJ Watt. He is your heart and soul of that team. He has been for the last 8 years since he's been in the league. The man has had multiple 20-sack seasons. He's a perennial all-pro bowler. All-pro even. He's a first-team all-pro. Many a season's worth. You can't let this guy walk away. He is a Pittsburgh Steeler through and through, so you don't let a guy like him walk away, especially not at the prime age of 30. This guy has at least a solid 3-4 more years of, 17 plus sacks a season and being a complete terror on any quarterback he comes across. So optimism there by the head coach for his defensive end. All right, Trey Hendrickson is in talks once again for an extension with the Cincinnati Bengals. This is great news because prior they had been having some back and forth banter. The other side didn't want to match what he thought he was worth, and contracts just fell apart. There was actually possibility of him being traded earlier in the offseason, but that never came to fruition. So back at the contract table they go. But man, I would love to know who the hell in Cincy is handling contract negotiations, because I tell you, they're doing a bang-up job this offseason. Their first-round draft pick, Shamar Stewart, left mandatory minicamp the other day. Why? Because they're trying to include language in his rookie contract that would allow the Cincinnati Bengals to void any future guarantees and for him to be I would have to think cut at no cost to them, basically. It's their way of basically saying, hey, look, if we don't like you after a year or two, we're just going to kick you off to the curb. No. You're locked in at those 4 years, bud. You might release the guy. You might take a bite on the salary cap, but don't try and work in this language just so that way you can, cover your ass for a rookie that you took a draft pick on? You took the responsibility when you drafted this kid. So now it's time for you to own up, give him his goddamn rookie contract, and let's get moving forward. Right? I don't know why they feel in their need that they must manipulate every aspect of it. Why? Because it gives you more money to sign your wide receivers and your quarterback? You need a defense. What are you guys doing? I like the Bengals. I'm a closet Bengals fan. My number one team is the Bears. I like the Bengals secondly. I love them during the Carson Palmer, Chad Johnson days, baby. Hell, go back even further with Boomer Esiason. It doesn't matter. The Bengals of the 80s when they went to the Super Bowls, the Bengals of the early 2000s with their success that they did have. Even Andy Dalton was exciting to watch with A.J. Green. But I just don't know where the hell these guys get off in thinking that every other NFL team has gone through this process, signing their guys, but there's things in place that if, let's say, maybe this guy was a little bit off the field issues from prior in college, there's ways of working around that. But you want to avoid this guy. Basically, you're taking this kid's livelihood, especially if any of that language includes, possible, if you're injured, you're not going to receive certain receive your salary. I don't know. I just, when I seen that story, it burned me a little bit, because I'm just like, you guys are in a multi-million-dollar corporation of the business of the NFL model, right? And you can't even afford your first-round pick. What the hell are you doing, Bengals? Anyway, after that, there's also a report coming out that Sauce Gardner and Mr. Wilson, wide receiver of the New York Jets, are in contract talks. Now, this would be huge for the Jets because they have a whole new regime. When they brought in the head coach, they went and signed Justin Fields, right? They re-upped the 5th-year option on Breece Hall. They got... Actually, no, he's a second-round pick. They got the 5th-round option, on Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, but they want these kids there long-term. And why wouldn't you? Sauce Gardner is a multi-time All-Pro DB. That's pretty hard to find these days, right? You need a guy to cover half the field. He can do it. Garrett Wilson's been nothing but just a stand-in professional in his 3 years of mockery in this fucking New York Jets organization. Like, I give kudos to these kids, and they believe in this new regime, and they want in. They've said this in interviews. So I think getting those two locked up real quick to save on your bottom dollar and to save on the fact that you need these guys going forward. But I'm not an NFL GM. I'm just a sports talk guy on a podcast. So what do I know, right? Saints signed Cam Akers, running back, to a 1-year contract after his tryout the other day. So he played a little bit there at the end of last year, came back, got his tryout. He's now going to compete for the backup role behind Alvin Kamara, but he has some competition. There's former Clyde Edwards, I think is his last name. He was a running back over in Kansas City. So he has him for competition, and Kendre Miller, who holds, by the way, a recent stat I found out, 2 of the longest plays from scrimmage plays for 2 different NFL franchises. The Houston Texans and the Miami Dolphins. Just fascinating stuff. I watched this kid's 2 highlights of it too. It's like 102 yards from the end zone in. It's amazing. But anyway, Daniel Jones in the Colts. This I found a little interesting story. So head coach Steineck came out and basically said he's really impressed with Daniel Jones. He's a professional. He knows how to control the huddle. He's not even controlling it. He's commanding the huddle. When your head coach says that about your quarterback in an already effed up offseason for the Colts, former number 4 overall pick, Anthony Richardson, who recently had, it was his AC joint in his throwing shoulder, re-injure itself from last year. That's not good. I think Daniel Jones, here's my prediction. I think Daniel Jones, barring some kind of Anthony Richardson's come back and he looks like a superstar, I think Daniel Jones is going to get the starting job in the Colts this offseason. I think he's going to be their starting quarterback day one. I know it's early reports, but if the head coach is gushing this much over this guy, who they only brought in as a free agent to give competition, well, the competition is looking pretty goddamn good when you can't even stay healthy, dude. There's my prediction. Daniel Jones starts for the Indianapolis Colts. Day one. If not, he starts for them at some point this year, because I don't think Richardson is going to have a full 17 games. I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't think he's going to. Alaric Jackson, starting left tackle of the Los Angeles Rams, is dealing with blood clots. That is so unfortunate. This man has been a solid the last 2 seasons for Matthew Stafford on his blind side, that they re-signed him last year to a 3-year extension, $58 million, and now he's dealing with some medical issues. Mr. Alaric Jackson, I give you my kudos. I hope that you get better and you work through it. I know a lot of players deal with a lot of different things like this. Like, this isn't common. Like, this is pretty common from what I've read for players within the NFL. But I don't see, if they're reporting it though, that tells me anyway, at least I believe anyway, that that's a little bit more serious than the guy, the 28 other guys on the other teams that are probably dealing with it, but they're on medications getting it figured out, right? Like they're further along in the process, if anything. So I hope this isn't too much of an issue for you starting day. Oh, yeah. So that pretty much brings us to our final story of the day, which is Antonio Brown is wanted for murder. What the hell? So I read in the articles, gathering all that I could, basically. Former wide receiver Antonio Brown, 36, at a recent nightclub, basically assaulted a dude who he was having a beef with earlier in the night, pulled the security guard's gun, and took 2 cap shots at the son bitch. So he is wanted for attempted murder by the police right now. That blows my mind. But it doesn't shock me about Antonio Brown, though. It doesn't. The guy had been leading down a path for a while, thinking he was higher than God, but now he's being dropped back down to earth. And I hope it wakes him up and he can learn from it. Because I would hate to see a young man's life come tumbling down because you decide to make a few bad things. Get your ass in gear now, kid. Like, you're looking at, even at a second-degree attempted murder for where he's at, he's looking at a 15-year sentence with I think it was like a million or 100,000, one of the two, payment out. And that's just the bare minimum. So, like, his life could be over right now. They catch him, especially if he doesn't turn himself in, it's going to get a whole lot worse for this dude. What an idiot. You know what? That's fine. Because it ain't me. I'm here, you're there, and we're done here at the BearDown Corner. So thank you so much for tuning in this week as we had just some stories as we continue our way along this NFL offseason. You can catch us every Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock General Mountain Time over at Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and of course, YouTube. So you all have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week here at the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Cornholio. You all take care of yourself.